Our Conservative government makes no apologies for cracking down on crime. Since we've come to office, we've introduced 30 pieces of legislation aimed at keeping our streets and communities safe. Mr. Speaker, what the NDP always misses on these things, that the cost of crime, for the most part, is borne by victims. That's the side they are never on, Mr. Speaker.
Right. Jim Flaherty goes public with his budget tomorrow. The Parliamentary Budget Office will be in court, pushing for more access to government documents. Kevin Page is taking the federal government to court to clarify the Parliamentary Budget Office's mandate. He argues Canada's budget watchdog has the right to more information and more data. It could define the very future of the office. Will this fight define Kevin Page's legacy? With his tenure wrapping up Friday, don't worry, there's another report out today, his last one at his time in office. This crime rates have dropped while spending on justice issues have shot up. Let me just show you the numbers so you get a sense of it. Spending per capita for justice has gone up by 23% over the past decade, up 23%. But during that same time, the crime rate's gone down by 23%. For 2011-2012, it cost $20.3 billion to fund the criminal justice system. The bulk of that, over 70%, paid by the provinces. And that's part of the headline of this report. The provinces are bearing the cost of the increased cost of justice as the crime rate's going down. So why is the criminal justice system costing more when the crime rate is falling? And will this be addressed in tomorrow's budget? Let's get the latest from Kevin Page, Parliamentary Budget Officer. Hard to believe it's your last report.
Yes.
5 years.
Yes, but good to be here, Evan. Thank you so much.
Great to have you back. Just why is the criminal justice system spending 23% more when the crime rate is going down? What are they spending on?
Well, the increase in the cost of the criminal justice system, that we've noticed over the past 11 years is fairly pervasive. So we're seeing it in all the big, moving parts. We're seeing it in provincial security, provincial correction expenditures, federal corrections, federal security. And the increases over the past, 11, 12 years are kind of, even after you take into account inflation, they're in the 3.5 to 4. So it's actually pretty broad-based.
When they were asked about this in Parliament today, Minister Nicholson always said, well, this is the cost to the victims is the key. Tell us how you, if at all, the cost that you're talking about talks about the costs borne by the victims.
Yes, we don't look at the cost borne by victims, and it's really not within the mandate of the Parliamentary Budget Officer to assess those type of benefits. So we look at the cost to taxpayers for this system. And we just, I think one of the reasons for doing this report is just, it's so hard to pull together numbers that cut across jurisdictions, municipal, provincial, federal, and all those different moving parts. And while the government, federally was moving forward on changes to the criminal code, which has an impact on these other jurisdictions, we said we need to put together a framework. And then, once we, are satisfied that this is a good costing framework, hand it over to the criminologists in this country. We have many good ones across the country, different universities, and let them start to debate, what this means, like what's moving what.
Right, because this is not a policy document, but it's really kind of the first time we're getting a picture of the cost of crime and justice, the system, what we're really paying for these new legislation. Is that a fair way to see it?
Yes, though we're not able to kind of disentangle what various types of changes in legislation, what bill impacted what. Yeah, and we're not at that point yet. So first, you need to put together this framework that allows you to assess that. And so now we can, at least over 11-year period, we can say that here's where the growth is happening, and there is this growth. And so for an average taxpayer, 11 years ago, they were spending something like $380, and now they're spending like $400 for each taxpayer, $470. So it's an increase of an out-of-pocket expense. They should know that when we're making these changes. Especially
in a budget where there's cuts, and one of the areas where there's more spending, as you say, as crime rates are going down, the report, as I understand it, and I read it.
The provinces just structurally they bear a big part of the cost, and it's roughly 3/4 of that cost is borne by the provinces. But at the end of the day, there's one taxpayer. So when we look at these systems, and again, when the criminal code has changed, and the federal government has the competence to change the criminal codes, but most of the administration, the correctional service system is done at the provinces. We need to look at that, that impact. So in a one taxpayer concept, I think we're all bearing that cost.
But it's not a one taxpayer when you're trying to balance the books. And tomorrow's budget day federally. What will you be looking for in terms of cost of crime and justice when you look at the budget in terms of these costs and who bears them?
Well, will there be more new initiatives that, that'll be highlighted in the budget, so that could put additional cost, on the correctional services system will be one thing we look at. But one thing we're still missing, which is the reason why we're in the federal court the next 2 days, is that we don't have departmental spending plans consistent with budget 2012, where the government said we're going to try to freeze expenditures over the next 5 years. And so we want, where's the detailed plans? And we still don't, 1 year later, we still don't have plans consistent with budget 2012.
So there's questions about budget 2012, and we're doing budget 2013 tomorrow. Why is that case so important then? The court, because all eyes will be on the budget tomorrow. A lot of oxygen will get sucked up, but you're in court. Why is the court case so important?
Well, it's important for Parliament. Again, in our Westminster system, the power of the purse rests with individual MPs in the legislature, which includes backbencher Conservative members. And